Hello, OWL members. I am thrilled to announce this month's Inside the OWL Studio will feature Tarsus Pharmaceuticals, who is also one of OWL's uniting sponsors. Tarsus is a biopharmaceutical company focused on the development and commercialization of therapeutic candidates to address highly prevalent diseases with limited treatment options. Focusing on unmet needs, they apply proven science and new technology to revolutionize treatment for patients, starting with eye care. Without further delay, I am excited to introduce today's interviewee, Dianne Whitfield, Chief Human Resources Officer at Tarsus. Dianne brings over 20 years of experience in human resources, including over a decade of life sciences industry management and leadership. Prior to joining Tarsus, Dianne spent time at Evolus and at Allergan, an AbbVie company. Dianne holds a BA in psychology and social behavior and a master's in social work. Welcome to Inside the OWL Studio, Dianne.
Thanks, Abigail. It's so great to be here, and thanks for having me.
Absolutely. As you know, the OWL organization continually strives to create networking and educational opportunities to support the mission of advancing diversity and leadership. I find these sessions hugely beneficial to hear from other organizations about their efforts around diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. With that being said, I'm very excited to hear from you about Tarsus initiatives in this area. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to you, Dianne.
Thank you. Yeah, so excited to be here, and I couldn't agree more. I think a lot of the work that we do at Tarsus is really driven by connecting with others in industry and just really understanding what is working, what are other leaders doing, and how do we continue to advance diversity, equity, and inclusion. I had the privilege of joining Tarsus 2 years ago as the first HR employee leading human resources at a time when the company was just 20 employees. So it couldn't have been a better opportunity for me to really drive the strategy of diversity, equity, and inclusion, not just at Tarsus, but in the pharmaceutical industry and eye care community as a whole. And that's where my focus really has been, and not just developing a talent strategy to help Tarsus be successful, but really thinking about how we can have broader impact in our communities and most importantly, with our patients, because that's the work that we're doing. So in 2 years, what we really did was kind of set out with this idea of how do we make sure that that's part of our DNA as a company. And it's been 2 short years in terms of the work that we've done, because we didn't waste any time getting started, but we recognize it's a big opportunity to tackle. And it's going to take a lot of time to really make a tremendous impact. Again, not just within the company, but broader in the community, in the ophthalmology community, as well as the communities in which we live and work. So I am pleased to say that 2 years in, we've been really intentional about tracking metrics for the organization. And one of the things that we look at is what is the diversity of our current makeup of employees. So we're about 100 employees strong right now and continuing to grow at a rapid pace. And our diversity has improved in both areas of gender and ethnicity. And we track it at all levels. So for our leaders, we have currently 49% of our leaders female in the organization and 58% people of color. And we're really proud of those numbers to show that, it's something that we really are intentional about and committed to, and ensuring that as we continue to grow as an organization, that's one aspect to ensure that we are thinking about diversity and that's top of mind for us.
That's amazing. And, I'm very fortunate to work, through OWL with various members of your leadership team there at Tarsus. And I think it's exceptional what you've been doing there. You're really walking the talk. And I think that's very important as we move forward. We're kind of out of the 2020 timeframe, and it's so important to keep, I believe, this top of mind within your organization. I have a question for you. Do you have any specific activities when you talk about the broader community in general? What is Tarsus doing, within the community, within Tarsus, to really keep this top of mind?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So we're doing a few things. And the first thing that we're doing is as we really thought about this strategy, we defined it. So one of the things that we do, and the way that we've branded our corporate social responsibility and our DEI efforts, is what we call vision for change. So vision for change is our overarching strategy, and we have 3 core pillars to it that we're focused on a regular basis. It's about business effectiveness, because we know that diversity drives better results, not just for Tarsus, but more importantly for our patients. So we focus on the business effectiveness piece, and that's also who we bring into the organization, but making sure that the people who work at Tarsus really work with customers that are very diverse, because at the end of the day, our patients are diverse. And so we want to make sure that we have that representation. The second component is belonging. And that's really important because we want to ensure that every Tarsan is seen, supported, and connected. So we really focus on fostering a culture of inclusion and belonging. And I'll talk about a few of the things we do to really drive that. And then the third component is the community piece, making sure that we do have the support and resources going out to the communities that we serve, and that we are helping those who are underrepresented. And we have a group there called the Tarsan Trailblazers, who have really made tremendous efforts in doing a lot of community activities. These 3 pillars are driven by our DEI Leadership Council, and this is some of the top leaders in our organization who are committed and passionate about DEI. They are everyone from Arthur Chan, who's part of the AL community, who serves as a mentor. He also leads our medical affairs function, and his commitment to ensuring diversity, not just at Tarsus, but with the customers we work with, has really made some tremendous impact and efforts. It includes Scott Humans, who's our Vice President of Sales. And Scott's in the process as we're looking to get approval of our first product, of building our sales force. And he's really committed to ensuring that we've got diversity on that team as well. And then we have Maza Martin, who's a senior director in marketing, also part of the AL community, who is just really just serves as a leadership example of how you can really drive DEI, not just in a company, but also in a community and with your family. And she's really served as a great role model for the entire organization and has helped lead efforts such as Juneteenth. So making sure that that's not just a company recognized holiday, but that we do something really impactful to both educate and honor that day for our employees. We've done things like in 2021, we had Dr. Renee Beauville as a guest speaker to really talk about diversity in ophthalmology, her own experiences, and the team learned so much from her, but also got some inspiration of how do we make sure that we keep this going so that we can see tremendous impact in the future. Last year, we also did a Juneteenth celebration where we got the entire organization out. We learned about just the uniqueness of the culture, the importance of Freedom Day. We had a chance to have, great food and fellowship with each other. So it was really just an opportunity, not just to become more aware and educate ourselves, but also just to come together as a community. And we find from our Tarsans we hear, because we're constantly getting feedback, that it's these events that really help drive and foster that belonging. So we see that the impact is happening not just with how our employees feel, but then their inspiration to go out and do great work beyond Tarsus. So just a couple of examples of some of the things that we've done.
That is truly remarkable. I had no idea. What I like about your 3 pillars and also your diversity committee, again, I think walking the talk is imperative, to a successful organization, bringing that belonging, to the organization. I think we talk about diversity and equity and inclusion, but we forget that belonging component. And that's kind of the icing on the cake. And that's what everyone should strive for. And I think having this disciplined approach, at least what I'm hearing from you, Dianne, is so important. And it's really, really impressive. So my hat's off to you and Tarsus. Again, fortunate to work with several members of your leadership team. And I can truly say they do walk the talk. And I think that if others are watching or viewing this particular segment of Inside the Owl Studio, they should take some notes on what you're doing there at Tarsus. So I think on that note, unless you have anything else to add, we can move into our final questions for the day.
No, but
awesome. Okay, so what is your favorite word in eye care?
Oh, great question. So this is probably an obvious one because I talked about vision for change, but I think the word vision is just such a tremendous word. I mean, in its literal sense, it's why we do the work we do, right? The ability to see, I think, is one of the most important senses for people. So it's important from that reason, but I love the inspiration of the word, right? Vision has become a way to really think about what a future can be and the art of the possible, and really striving for something that is even greater than what we have. And so obviously it was the inspiration for Vision for Change, which drives all of the work that we're doing with the DEI.
Awesome. I like that. What is your least favorite word?
Yeah, this was a hard one, Abigail. So, I'd say it's more of a phrase, and along the same lines of everything we've talked about is when I hear some of the phrases of there's not enough diversity in ophthalmology or there's not enough representation, it obviously tells us that there's an opportunity there for change. And so again, it drives a lot of the work that we're doing in this area.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think what you're doing at Tarsus, what we, try to do every day at OWL, we just got to keep that ball rolling in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
So what role in our industry would you like to pursue other than your own?
Yeah, that's a great question. Quite honestly, I just love the inspiration, the work that OWL is doing. I feel very fortunate that I get to be in a role that can help create conditions where people can thrive and organizations can thrive. And I'd love to just continue to broaden that at some point in my career as I grow, where I can do that at a broader scale, whether it's working with many organizations or many industries to make positive change. So I would love to be able to continue to just get involved in the ophthalmology community and help to see that positive change.
Awesome. What role would you probably not want to attempt?
Also a great question. I will say, in seeing some of the prior Inside the OWL studios, they'll steal from a previous guest that, a lot of it is recognizing what your own strengths are and really leaning into them, and maybe not some of the areas where you're not so strong. So, there are so many talented scientists, physicians in the ophthalmology space, and that's not where my area of expertise is. So I am so just impressed by what they've been able to accomplish. There's so many great women leaders. February, as we're coming into, is a month that really recognizes women in science. And I think it's a great way to really just appreciate the skills and abilities that they have.
Awesome. Yeah, for sure. And I think you might have answered this in the previous question. Is there any one thing that you would like to contribute to diversity in leadership, within our community?
Yeah, I'm, as I said, fortunate that I get to be in that role. The one thing I will say is that we all have an opportunity to make an impact in positive change, and it takes more than one person. As you mentioned, you've gotten to know a lot of the Tarsus leadership, and our efforts are done through a broader leadership team that is really focused on that together. And so I think, my word of advice for everyone is, be part of that change, that we can become force multipliers by all focused on being intentional about what we can do to create better diversity, equity, and inclusion just with what we do, regardless of the role that we're in.
Awesome. And my last question for you is the surprise question. If you were a drink, what would you be?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, my favorite drink is coffee. I function on that on a daily basis. Now, we're not regular coffee. I'm all about the fancy drinks, right? The cappuccino. So gotta get a little bit of fun to it. But it's the fuel, right? It's like,
yes.
It gives you the energy to get your day started. And so I think with me in my role, I get energized by the work I do. And so and finding things that I'm passionate about. So I would say cup of coffee.
I love that answer. That is the first thing. I've never thought of coffee, and it is brilliant. I agree with you. Oh, well, Dianne, I wanted to say thank you so much for being a part of Inside the OWL studio today. Thank you so much to Tarsus and all you do every day for OWL. It's just amazing. Again, I hope people watching this really listen to what you are doing there at Tarsus, because I think it's a great benchmark for other companies and something to strive for. So thank you again.
Thanks, Abigail.